Hey, look who's with us here on the Curvy Couch. It is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, from the great state of Louisiana.
He never gets out, Steve. So he's always just hanging out in the office.
That's right.
It's great.
How on the road have you been? I know you were at the stock exchange yesterday.
Yeah, I did a big speech there on economic policy and our big plans for the future. And we've been traveling nonstop, you guys. As of this last weekend, I've done campaign events in 220-something cities in 39 states. And we're going to do 65 cities in 25 states this month alone.
Who works harder, you or Brian?
Brian. He never sleeps.
Are you doing that, Mr. Speaker, because Donald Trump says no tax on overtime? Clearly, you're working overtime.
Yeah, right. Well, he and I both are traveling nonstop. In fact, it's very inspiring. I sat down with him last week sometime. We were in the same place at the same time, and he said, my schedule's full. I told the team, fill it every hour of every day, all the way through the election. He said, Mike, we can't leave anything on the field, right? We would have regret if we had done one more city, one more event. I mean, for him to have that kind of stamina is really inspiring to all of us.
Well, the big event yesterday was the vice presidential debate.
Yes.
And we were talking in the green room a moment ago just about the moderators and the job CBS did. Watch this clip, if you missed last night, where they said they weren't going to fact check, but then they fact checked.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
The rules were that you guys weren't going to
we're
fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own
Thank you, Senator, for
leadership.
describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP One app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut. We have so much we want to get to. Thank you for explaining the legal process.
We're not going to cut your mic.
What a condescending comment.
At the end.
It's just
Thank you for explaining the laws to us.
Their bias, their disdain for any Republican candidate is just on open display. Everybody can see that. I mean, it was 3 against 1. But JD still
I
won.
wanted to hear his answer, though.
Right.
But the issue does bother me. It's very important. You give special status to Haitians, Cubans, Venezuelans because their country's going to hell. We can't, doesn't mean we have to absorb everybody. Should we not have a say in this?
Exactly. The immigration policy is basically non-existent. They open the border. They're allowing everyone in. They put out the welcome mat. And the catastrophe that this has been to our country in every metric of public policy, with the fentanyl poisonings of being the leading cause of death for Americans age 18 to 49, the trafficking, the fact that J.D. pointed out so well, they have lost all of these children who came across the border. They've lost them.
Yeah.
I mean, if a Republican administration had done that, it's all you would see every day. But they try to bury it. J.D. was so good last night because he brought answers, solutions. He talked about policies. He showed his depth. And he came across as just being very reasonable and likable. I just thought he was at his best. He did a great job.
What do you think about this port strike? We've been talking about this. It's day 2 now. It's going to affect all families across the country if we don't resolve this soon.
Yeah.
What should Biden and Kamala Harris be doing to resolve it?
Well, they need to ensure that these parties stay at the table, negotiate in good faith, and get to the end of this thing. They have had this sort of hands-off approach. And that weakness is going to exacerbate the problem. You know, Donald Trump's pointed out in the last couple of days, this is a direct result, one more direct result of Bidenomics, of the inflation. I mean, these, dock workers, port workers feel like they can't feed their families. Everybody in America feels that right now.
So Gina Raimondo says, I'm not really following it. And she's Commerce Secretary. And the Secretary of Transportation is drilling Governor Walz on what to expect in a debate.
Look, this administration and all the cabinet officials, have failed in every measure, and everybody can see that. This election is about a contrast. The answers, the solutions, the ideas that J.D. put forward, and the fact that Waltz could not stand there and answer this simple question. If Kamala Harris has all these great ideas, if you guys could do all this, why hasn't she done it for the last 4 years? They cannot answer that.
Well, and Joe Biden, we've heard him a million times. He's the world's most pro-union president in the history of the republic. He wanted big labor to have a lot of power. They've got a lot of power now. Yeah. Unfortunately for his vice president, our vice president, Kamala Harris, this comes at a politically precarious time. The longer this goes, the worse for her when stuff starts costing more or drying up.
Yes, and the latest numbers are very encouraging for our side because the Democratic Party and Kamala Harris have the lowest level of support from union workers in the history of polling. In 2020, Joe Biden was up by 19 points among union members. She's up by 9, and it's a perilous position she's in. So we'll see how this resolves, but it's doing real damage to the economy, to people. It's going to make costs go up for all these hardworking families who are already struggling.
Mr. Speaker, do you think you should be doing something to get these men and women back to work? This is national security, isn't it?
Well, it is, and, you know, the Taft-Hartley Act is part of the law. The president has the ability to evoke that. Congress doesn't have much say in these things, but we're going to continue to hammer the point that they've got to get back to work. This is a perilous time for the country. We're still reeling on the heels of Hurricane Helene and all the damage that's been done. Israel is under fire by Iran. There's just chaos everywhere you look, and this is emblematic of the Biden-Harris administration and what they've done to the country.
Yeah, we're approaching the one-year anniversary of what happened on October 7th in Israel. Israel's vowing revenge, and they're fighting back. They took out the leader of Hezbollah, the leader of Hamas. They took out 5 other leaders of Hamas. Yes. They used the pagers. They blew up all the pagers, and those were a lot of the terrorists that were killed as well. So they are fighting back. But yesterday there were 200 missiles that were launched into Israel. There was that attack at the subway.
That's so crazy.
Incredible.
Yeah, what's your reaction to this, and what can we do as America?
Well, again, let me just point back to the president and the vice president. They have put us in this situation. They've tried to appease Iran with their policies. They've empowered them. They've not enforced the sanctions, and that's what allowed Iran to have the resources to do what they're doing right now. It's a very dangerous situation. We have to stand unequivocally with Israel right now. The Biden administration has tried to play both sides. They tried to appease Iran, and that's what's gotten us into this dangerous situation. We're on the verge of World War III. That's true. It's the most dangerous time since World War II, and it's because of the failed policies. We have got to project peace through strength. I think J.D. hammered that point so well last night. You have to have a strong leader in the White House. That's what Donald Trump will bring back, and it can't happen soon enough.
Well, let's just think about this. Nobody wants World War III, but did you notice the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, no one's condemning Israel? No, they're just saying let's de-escalate. It's fascinating because everybody knows Iran's the problem.
Of course.
Iran is threatening to assassinate President Trump. He's switching planes, doing all types of gymnastics in order to not get killed. They hacked into his website, and now they are, through the Houthi rebels, telling the Houthi rebels where our ships are to take us out of the Red Sea, so they've stepped down on commerce. That is war on us. They killed 3 of our guys in Syria. That is war on us. Why are we sitting there saying de-escalate? What other things do we have to do to understand we're under attack by this nation who are now have a Ayatollah cowering in some hole somewhere?
We've had 4 years of weakness that's been projected on the world stage. Our allies are nervous. Everybody is fearful. The world is a tinderbox because America has not led. Well, we need to elect Donald Trump. We have to put strength back in the White House. We need to assert a strong showing on behalf of Israel and all of our allies. We need our enemies to fear us again, and they don't. They'll fear Donald Trump.
Pardon the interruption. Yeah. Later today, the president's going to go to North Carolina and survey the damage. The damage is incredible.
Yes.
You know, this could be, it's already the second deadliest hurricane in American history, right behind Katrina. That devastation is going to cost a lot. And we've got to help those people, wherever they are, rebuild. You guys are involved in figuring out where the money comes from. It looks like you guys might have to change priorities.
Well, all federal spending is about priorities. I'm from Louisiana, a hurricane-prone state, so we know hurricanes and disaster recovery really well. Congress did appropriate $20 billion additional dollars to FEMA.
That's not going to be enough.
No, it's not, of course, but it takes a while to assess the damage. This is a big one.
It says $35 billion right now.
Yeah, it'll be much higher than that, of course. I mean, look at the swath and the breadth of the damage across so many states. But it'll take a while. It'll take 30 days or more for them to assess that. But Congress will have to address it. I mean, this is an appropriate role for the federal government. But to your point, Steve, we have to prioritize federal spending. We have a $35 trillion federal debt. You got to take care of national defense. You have to handle federal emergencies. These are appropriate roles for the federal government. We ought to be doing it in a bipartisan fashion, and I certainly hope that we can get that done.
Yeah, it would be great if the president was at his beach house during this time.
That would be great. If we had any leadership at all from Biden and Harris, we don't. And I think the American people see that.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for dropping by the couch.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Okay, you got to go hop on a jet and go someplace.
Yes.
Right. Important.
Thank you.